What's up, guys? Today I'm doing a quick review on the SDL SC36C. This one is a 14.5 horsepower machine. It is very similar to the AGTs. It is very similar to the GIYIs. I'm trying to think the future machines. I believe a lot of these are made in the same factories, and they are just rebranded with different badging on them. This one is an auction machine. I believe I paid $2,500 after fees for this one. I believe it was $2,250 and then 10% fees on it. This one came out of Illinois from Ritchie Bros auction. I believe you can also get them on proxy bid, high bid. You know, it kind of varies by location. But this one, though, is a 14.5 horsepower. It is the Rado engine, which is basically a clone of the Hondas and of the Briggs & Stratton, similar to the Predator engines as well from Harbor Freight. So this one, as opposed to the 23 horsepower that comes out of these machines, this one has pull start on it. It does not have a fuel cutoff switch, which I've noticed on some of these. It does have the choke on the dash, throttle on the dash, key, all the gauges. It's got digital gauges on this machine. It does have the H pattern controls. So left side controls left track, right side controls right track. This is your bucket tilt up and down, and then this is raising and lowering the actual mass of itself. Aside from that, this machine does have switched fans. It does have a horn. It does have one LED light on the front of it. The one thing I do like about these machines is it has the nut and bolt to adjust the track on it. I do like the greaser better for adjusting the track on my direct machine. And on like the bigger, like, you know, name brand equipment, I prefer that style. On the cheaper Chinese machines, though, like the lower cost auction machines especially, I am not a huge fan of the greaser fittings on them for tensioning the tracks, because it seems like, I would say probably 50% of them have issues, and they seem to go out and then it just causes an issue. So on these cheaper machines, I prefer the threaded one with a nut on it. In my experience, I mean, it's been a lot better. So this machine also comes with the 42-inch bucket. You got to pay attention if you're getting one from auction. They will come with a 32 or a 42. So ideally you want to get one that's the same size as the machine. Otherwise, I mean, you're cutting paths and you're just leaving tracks behind on each side of the bucket because it's not wide enough. So aside from that, this one, it does have low flow hydraulics on it. It does have the 3 hookups, but it is low flow still. So moving on, it does have a 5-gallon auxiliary hydraulic, and hydraulic for the drive motors and basically for all the functions on it. Everything goes right into this tank. So, and then it does have the valve for adjusting the pressures and the return on it, which I have not messed with. I've seen people have turned up before, and I see that they have, after doing so, blown seals on drive motors especially. So it's not something that I'm willing to mess with at risk. I mean, for the cost of what it is, it functions for what I'd expect. But yeah, it is a 5-gallon tank. ISO 46 or 32 is what everybody kind of puts in these, it seems like, depending on what your climate is. I would say that after buying one of these machines, you 100% should go through and change all the fluids. What I do is I actually pull the reservoir off completely, the whole cap of it, I should say, of the reservoir. And I take a magnet and I sweep out everything inside the tank. And then I put 2 like trans pad magnets in the bottom of it to collect any debris, just because the quality on some of the welding of these are not very great. Aside from that, though, this is considered a 2-pump unit. So the 2-pump units, you cannot use auxiliary hydraulics that will take flow while the machine is moving. So for example, you can use a 4-in-1 bucket, you can use a snowplow, grapple, you know, auger you can use while you're stationary. Things you can't use is like a trencher, you can't use on it while moving. A rototiller you can't use on it while moving. So things along those lines. I see some people want to get brush cutters for them. That's, you know, it doesn't work on these machines, and, you know, they just don't have the capacity of fluid to keep up with it either without it overheating. So, but aside from that, on this machine, this one does have an exhaust that's starting to dump out the side now. I see they're doing that on a lot of the 2025 models. Before, they would just dump right into the engine bay, and they'd get pretty hot. So that is one nice thing. I mean, it's not very high quality by any means, but, you know, it directs the exhaust out, so it's something at least. But same with the engine oil, though. I would, you know, obviously go through, change that right away. And the 14.5 horsepowers, they don't have filters, so I mean, you're literally just changing it, draining it out the bottom. Some people get the extension tubes, you know, so they don't make such a mess. To me, I mean, it's really not too bad. So, but I would definitely change the oil in the engine after getting one, along with the hydraulic fluid right away. You know, just making sure it's taken care of. For the machines that do have the tanks that are either underneath the engine or that are separate, that aren't mounted on the engine, that don't come with this, definitely drain the fuel, magnet that tank as well, and put fresh fuel in it. With these ones, they don't weld them in-house when they're building these units in China, so there's usually not as much of an issue with quality control on them. Generally, they buy the engines, whether it's the Rados, the Briggs, the Hondas. I believe they're either getting them in Europe or China. So depending on where they get them, I mean, they're all just super mass produced. So like, these tanks generally don't have an issue with, you know, them welding it and getting splatter in there or anything like that. If you do have a machine specific tank, I would definitely drain it, and I would definitely do, you know, what you can to make sure it's clean, because, you know, those, same with the auxiliary fluid, I mean, they weld those in house, and there's not a lot of quality control on them. So, you know, it's kind of just cheap peace of mind the way I look at it. So, but yeah, moving on from that, I mean, the platform on this one, it's kind of what you'd expect out of a $2,500 machine. You know, it's nothing too fancy, nothing crazy. It does lock into place, which I'm not a huge fan of. I kind of like that it floats. On the other ones, I like that the Durant floats. You know, that way if you're going uphill and you catch something, it kind of kicks it up a little. This one, I mean, it's just going to bend it. I mean, it's got nowhere to go. So, and every time you're loading on a trailer, like me, I hop off, and like what I do is I kick it up, you know, as I'm going up the trailer when I load it. This one, every single time, I mean, you gotta come down here, you gotta unlock it, and then you gotta lift it up, and then you gotta do the same when you pop it back down then. So just one thing I'm not a huge fan of, but I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, for a $2,500 machine, I mean, it's kind of what you get, and it is what it is. I mean, I'm sure that's pretty easy to just pop that out and just put a through bolt on it. No big deal at the end of the day, but you know how it comes from factory, that's just the way that it's set up. So, but aside from that, I see, you know, some people that put fans on the back to get a little bit more flow on them. I see some people also that are putting fans on the side of these. I personally haven't really had an issue with it myself when it comes to overheating on these or anything like that, so I've never bothered. I've only ran the smaller machines to like a certain extent. I've got my bigger Durant. I've got another bigger machine on the way that I'm actually going to start doing videos of here. So, I mean, take that for what you will on these, but I don't think that it's needed, unless you're like really just abusing and overusing the machine for what it's really not intended for. Other than that, though, I'm trying to think if there's any other things that I could go over on it now. It's starting to get dark out here, but I see another big thing that kind of people talk about with these is, you know, oh, I'm going to get the bigger engine. I'm going to get the 23 horsepower. I think I've had about 60, 70 of these machines now. I generally buy them from auction. I'll resell them. I have had, I would say probably 20, if not 30 of the 23 horsepower machines. I'm not a fan of them. They seem to constantly have issues. They always have fuel problems. The lift capacity difference between this and a 23 horsepower, I mean, is so minimal that, I mean, you could put one set of counterweights on the back and it offsets the difference. And I'm talking a small set of counterweights. Aside from that, I mean, these, I like that they have the pull cord option on them. If you're using it, you know, off grid, out in the woods, you're on a job site where you can't get power to it to jump it, things like that is super nice. If you get a dead battery, it is very, very nice. because it doesn't rely on all the electronics. I mean, you can just pull start this, no power to anything else, and you can start these engines and you can get them out of wherever you're at. You know, it's for the peace of mind. That's nice. The other thing I do like with these is, I mean, I've never had one of these that I've picked up that didn't just fire right up. I mean, these literally, a blip of the key, I mean, that's all it takes. The single cylinder engines, I mean, they turn right over, they fire up, they run great. Cold weather, they run great. I mean, there's a lot less tinkering to do on them. There's a lot more space in the engine bay. And ultimately, what I've seen from tests before as well is that the pump is kind of the limiting factor on these. So regardless, whether you're trying to lift so much, you're trying to run so much auxiliary hydraulics, you're trying to go faster, I see that the pump basically is the bottleneck on it, whether it's a 14.5 or 23 horsepower. So in my opinion, I prefer the smaller engine a whole lot more than I do the 23 horsepowers, just because, I mean, they're a can of worms when you start getting into them. And for like me, I'm buying these. Other people are buying these. They're buying them to use them. I see a lot of people are kind of buying them. It seems like just to critique and, you know, kind of tinker with them, I guess I should say. You know, they're doing their aftermarket stuff and their add-ons. But for the person who's just looking to buy one and just strictly use it and not be working on it all the time, I would highly recommend a single cylinder engine. That's, you know, my opinion on it, my preference on it. And that goes for, I mean, all the Chinese mini skids across the board. Whether, like I said, it's this model, whether it's an AGT, whether, you know, it's a GIYI, whatever it may be. So that's kind of how I feel with it. Moving on from that though, trying to think of just, you know, common issues, things people gotta look out for. I know like the roller bearings on these back idlers kind of can be an issue on these ones. I haven't had a problem myself, but I see some people do. I think it's just a lot of stress and a lot of tension that are on these ones in the back here. So I see people kind of having to redo bearings or kind of fab stuff up to make that work. Like I said, I've never had an issue myself. Even putting counterweights on the back of a machine before that I've ran similar to this one quite a bit, never had an issue myself. But that's something to keep in mind when you're, you know, purchasing a high track model versus like a AGT, like an LRT 23 or something. This one, it does have nice tie downs on it. That is one bonus with it. The bucket, it is a universal mini skid plate, but I mean, be warned that they all seem to vary. Every machine that I've gotten, I don't think they've ever been the exact same measurements. The pins are kind of cheap. They're kind of chintzy. On some models, they're a little bit beefier, but I mean, they're kind of, like I said, they're what you'd expect for the money. The plates though, I mean, they will fit standard US mini skid attachment plates. Some they fit, some they don't. Some machines, they don't fit any of them. Some machines, they fit all of them. Like I said, it totally varies on the quality control and I guess how good of a job they do when they're building it that day, or the person who's, I mean, plasma cutting these or welding these up. It kind of depends, I guess, on, you know, how they put it together that day. So it's kind of luck of the draw on, you know, what machine you get and how it all plays out. So, but I mean, aside from that, I want to do a video review of me kind of operating it, running it through some of its systems and process and everything, and kind of show it functioning, I guess, is what I'm looking for there. I want to do that, and then I want to do like a side-by-side with this and my Durette, my V1000, and then I do have another machine on the way, which I don't think I'm gonna drop which one it is yet. It is kind of a newer one that you're starting to see pop up more stateside, but something from China that hasn't been very popular. Hasn't had as much of a social media presence as some of this stuff has, and, you know, as the Durettes have. And what's the other one that I'm looking for? I know there's one more that they sell down south at a dealer, but I want to say the high tops maybe, but I could be wrong on that. But so I want to do a side-by-side with all those. I'm going to start doing some videos of, I know I don't want to like beat a dead horse on people that, you know, run the mulchers and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm probably not going to run a mulcher on my bigger machine just because there's so many videos of those. I do want to do some videos of me running the rototiller, like actually putting it through the tests and the paces. I don't see a lot of videos on those, and I've seen quite a few questions about those, just the depth it'll go and how well it'll do on different soils and stuff like that. So I would like to do that for sure. And then I'm going to do just some like general tests of, you know, how hard and hot you can run something before you start having issues. So aside from that though too, I would like to start posting other videos as well. I don't want to stick strictly with just doing the Chinese equipment stuff. We have a cabin that we're building here pretty shortly, so I'm gonna start doing some videos on that, I believe, as well. I might do some hunting videos here and there is what my plan is. I'll do the Chinese equipment video from time to time, but like I said, I don't want to beat a dead horse on it. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of them out there. Some people have different opinions than I do on some of the stuff. You know, I've had quite a few of them. I've sold a lot of them, and I have more stuff that I'm importing as we speak. So I like to give my honest opinion on stuff. You know, I'm not backed by any of these brands or anything like that, so I can be as straightforward as possible, and, you know, I'm not going to hurt any feelings, and I can give the consumer kind of an honest opinion on how all the stuff works and how I feel about it. So, but for you know, a $2,500 machine, if you can get one of these from auction, I think it's a good purchase for sure. I mean, it's pretty hard to beat. I mean, even if you're doing one project at your personal residence, I would not buy one of these for a business. I would not compare these to any of the stateside machines, but for the money, for what they are, I think they're good. I would not probably buy one secondhand. I see people buying them on Facebook Marketplace up to like $6,000. I wouldn't do that. I don't think they're worth it once you start getting up to that point. I'd rather import a Durat, or, you know, something on the cheaper side, even whether it's a Durat 450 at that point. I think I would do that as opposed to buying one of these machines, just with the kind of the support you get from them. And they've kind of ran a lot of those through the paces, and they take a lot of suggestions from the public who uses those, whereas these machines, they start facing some backlash, and I think they just slap a new sticker on it and, you know, go buy a different company and start sending more out to auction. So but I mean, for the money, they're not bad machines. Like I said, for $2,500, I'd definitely consider one. You know, if you're looking at something and, you know, you don't need a full-fledged commercial machine, you just want something for some projects around the house, or, you know, helping people out here and there. I mean, I think they're great for that price-wise. I don't know if, like I said, if I'd spend upwards of $5,000 on one if I were to go buy one for myself. But if you can, you know, snag one at an auction, or, you know, get one secondhand with low hours and, you know, up to, I would say, $3,000-$4,000 range, I mean, you'd be sitting all right, and I think you'd be happy with it. But yeah, no, aside from that, I mean, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to shoot me a comment, send me a message, anything like that. I'm kind of starting to get into the YouTube stuff now, so I'm figuring out my editing. You know, it's not great. It's not pretty by any means, so I'm going to kind of figure it out as I go. I'm going to start posting some more videos here and there. Like I said, I should have some update on the cabin build. I want to get out there, start doing some time-lapse videos of the process of that. We are starting the foundation, doing the plumbing. We're starting to get forms up next week on that. So I want to start making some videos and documenting the process of that. And then, you know, with deer season here now too, I maybe want to start getting some videos of setting up stands, you know, doing some scouting, things like that out in the woods. So, but as it's starting to get dark here, I mean, I think we're going to call it there. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. I mean, anything, I'll shoot you my honest opinion on any of it. So awesome. Thanks, guys. Bye.